sky outside Nathan Pierce's penthouse looked like it had been cut from steel, hard, cold, and perfectly polished. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered an uninterrupted view of Manhattan stretching like a kingdom. Below, its lights flickering in the haze of late afternoon. Inside, everything was immaculate. The walls were obsidian glass and brushed metal. The furniture a curated blend of Scandinavian austerity and obscene wealth. Not a cushion out of place, not a single photograph in sight. Nathan stood at the window, one hand cradling a tumbler of untouched scotch. His other hand flicked across the glass of his tablet, documents glowing in neat, relentless columns. His mind was 10 moves ahead, calculating numbers, acquisitions, political implications. This was his real language, logic, profit, and precision. Then the AI broke the silence. "Mr. Pierce." The soft, gentlest voice said, "There is a visitor at the main entrance, a small visitor." Nathan didn't turn. Defined small, a female child, approximately 5 or 6 years old, unaccompanied. He frowned. "Security protocol says no unverified minors pass the lobby." "Why is she even?" "She asked for you, by name." Nathan turned slowly now, scotch forgotten. He crossed the room with measured steps, eyes narrowing as the smart screen blinked to life. The live feed showed the lobby, and there she was, tiny, fidgety, out of place against the sleek marble and chrome. The girl had messy blonde hair tied in uneven pigtails, one drooping as though hastily redone. Her backpack was pink, the kind that sagged with snacks or secrets. She kept shifting her weight from foot to foot, eyes flickering toward the security guard who stood at a careful distance. Unsure what to do, something about her jabbed at Nathan's brain. A memory? No, just an echo. She was unfamiliar, but oddly, she wasn't. "Is she alone?" he asked. "Security confirms no adult presence," the AI said. "She's refused to speak to anyone except you. She says it's an emergency regarding her mother." Nathan sighed sharply through his nose and turned back toward his desk. "Send someone to help her find her parents. I don't have time for this." He resumed reading the Westlake acquisition proposal, trying to force the distraction from his mind. But the numbers blurred. 15 minutes passed. Then the elevator chimed. He looked up, irritation sharpening. No one came up without clearance, sir. His head of security came through the intercom, his voice tense. "The child is persistent. She insists on seeing you personally. Says her name is Lily. I don't know any." He stopped. The name cracked like ice beneath a boot. "Send her up." The elevator opened with a soft ding, and there she was, tiny, fragile, and radiating a kind of determined fear. Her wide, blue eyes took in the penthouse like it was a dream too bright to trust. Her fingers clutched the straps of her backpack, knuckles white. Nathan stepped forward, caught between confusion and something else, something he couldn't name. "Hello," he said, voice lower than usual. "I'm told your name is Lily." She nodded. "Are you Nathan Pierce?" "I am. What can I help you with?" The girl took a shaky breath, stood straighter. Her voice was quiet, but certain. "My mommy said I should never come here, but I had to. She's been crying for 3 days. We don't have any more money for ice cream or rent." Nathan blinked. "I'm sorry, but who is your mother?" She looked up at him, eyes burning with a strange, inherited fire. "Rebecca Mitchell. She worked for you in the numbers department." And just like that, the world cracked open. Rebecca Mitchell. He hadn't heard that name in 5 years, but it landed in his chest like a thrown brick. The woman who vanished after the Meridian merger. The woman he hadn't let himself think about. The only woman who'd ever gotten close. "And why are you here about your mother?" he asked, suddenly unsteady. Lily took a single step forward, her lip trembling, but her spine stiff with purpose. "Papa told me never to bother people," she said quietly, then switched to perfect English. "Daddy, you fired Mommy." Nathan stared at her, really stared. Blonde hair, just like Becca's. But those eyes were his. And for the first time in over a decade, Nathan Pierce forgot how to breathe. The silence in the penthouse stretched like a taut wire, vibrating with something Nathan couldn't name. He hadn't moved, neither had she. The little girl stood under the high cathedral ceilings, as if she'd wandered into a palace that somehow felt like a battlefield. "Say that again," he murmured. Lily didn't flinch. "You fired my mommy." His throat tightened. "Rebecca Mitchell. She used to call you Nate," Lily said, voice matter of fact. "When she talks in her sleep, that name. No one had called him that in years. Not since the last night he saw Rebecca. 5 years ago, at the edge of the Meridian merger chaos, when she walked out without warning and left behind nothing but a resignation letter and silence, Nathan's mind spiraled. She couldn't have had a child. Not without telling him. Not without. He crouched slowly, eye level with the girl now. Lily, how old are you? 5 3/4. She held up 6 fingers, then lowered one after rethinking. Almost 6. 5 years. The timing landed like a slap. His heart gave a reluctant, disoriented thud. Where's your mom now? Home, Lily said. On the couch. She sleeps a lot, and she cries when she thinks I'm not looking. I use my piggy bank for the train ticket. Mommy said to never bother you, but she didn't mean it when she said it in a sad voice. She pulled a small piece of paper from her backpack and handed it to him. It was folded neatly, the edges worn from fingers too small and too careful. He unfolded it. A photo creased, grainy, printed on cheap paper. Rebecca smiling in a sunlit park, holding a toddler. The baby's hair was lighter than, the smile crooked. That same piercing gaze. The second item in the fold was a business card. His own. Nathan stood to quickly, walked toward the bar counter, poured a fresh glass of scotch, then set it down untouched. His hands trembled once, barely. What game was this? Had Becca hidden this child? No, she would never do that. She wasn't manipulative. But why hadn't she told him? Or had she tried? His thoughts were cut by a soft voice. Are you mad at me? He turned. Lily stood in the middle of his empire, looking impossibly small, impossibly brave. Her lip trembled, but she refused to cry. No, he said, instantly. No, Lily, I'm not mad. He ran a hand through his hair. You surprised me. Lily nodded like she understood everything. It's okay. Mommy says grown-ups don't like surprises. Nathan's chest caved inward. This child, she wasn't just Becca's daughter. She was sharp, clever, observant. She had Rebecca's mouth, his eyes, and a presence that shouldn't have belonged to someone under 6. He grabbed his phone and hit the secure line. Martin, discreet blood test. Rush job. Get a lab team up here within the hour. No questions. Then he looked back at her. You hungry? Lily tilted her head. Is it okay if I ask for ice cream first? Mommy said we couldn't afford it anymore. He smiled, a bitter edge curling at the corner. You can ask for anything you want. As she sat down carefully on one of the leather stools, swinging her feet, Nathan watched her with an intensity he usually reserved for million-dollar deals. This wasn't just an unexpected visit. It was an earthquake. And somewhere in the wreckage, he realized if this little girl was really his, everything about his world was about to change. But one question roared louder than all the rest. Why did Rebecca leave and never tell him? And what else has she been forced to hide? Would you like to continue directly into part 3 next? In that section, Nathan gets the DNA results and goes hunting for answers in Becca's past. Nathan hadn't slept by the time the private lab team arrived at his penthouse under the veil of night. Lily was curled up on the massive velvet couch in his study, her small body swaddled in a borrowed cashmere blanket, a melting bowl of chocolate chip ice cream resting on the side table. She had fallen asleep mid-sentence, telling him how her mom used to read her financial spreadsheets like bedtime stories, turning profit and loss into knights and dragons, turning numbers into lullabies. He stared at her longer than he should have, afraid to blink. The blood sample had been taken gently while she slept. She barely stirred. And now, Nathan paced his office like a lion that had just realized it was in a cage. He couldn't focus, couldn't breathe. His phone finally buzzed at 3:12 a.m. Match. 99.9% probability of biological paternity. His legs gave out before his mind caught up. He dropped into the leather chair behind his desk, staring at the screen with eyes that refused to believe what they'd read. She was his. Not metaphorically, not maybe, not emotionally. Biologically. He, Nathan Pierce, whose life was built on control, precision, and clean exits, had a daughter. A daughter who had been alive for nearly 6 years while he had lived in willful ignorance, signing billion-dollar deals, building towers of wealth, and never once noticing the hole where truth had been. And Rebecca, God, Rebecca, what the hell had happened? Why had she left? Why hadn't she told him? Why had she raised this brilliant little girl alone, barely scraping by, while he sat on the throne of an empire? He remembered her resignation, sharp, clinical, typed in a single paragraph. No forwarding number. No explanations. But Becca was never cold. She was careful, yes. Quiet, methodical, yes. But she had warmth, fire, and somewhere in the flames of that brief but unforgettable affair, he knew he had mattered to her, just as she had mattered to him. Had she tried to reach him? A sick feeling settled into the pit of his stomach as he reached for his archived internal communications with a few keystrokes. He accessed her file lock, of course, but he outranked every lock in the building. Emails. There were dozens of flagged and deleted messages from her address, all routed through the company firewall, all marked as spam. Some never even opened. He clicked one. Subject: I need to speak with you. It's urgent. The timestamp was 3 weeks after she left. Another read. I didn't want to do this. Through HR. Please, this is personal. Please read this. The attachments were gone, corrupted or wiped. He clenched his fists, jaw tightening. Someone had buried this. Not just Rebecca's voice, but a child's right to exist in her father's life. Nathan stood, fury rising in slow, dangerous waves. He knew who had overseen internal communications and IT during the Meridian merger. Roland Mays, his former coup and right-hand man. The same man who had been obsessed with maintaining the company's public image. During that scandal-laced acquisition, Nathan slammed his desk drawer shut and reached for his phone. Give me everything you have on Roland Mays. Full audit. I want to know what files he accessed, what he deleted, who he bribed, and why the hell Rebecca Mitchell's name vanished from our system. Yes, sir, and tell security. No one contacts him before I do. He turned back to the glass wall, dawn beginning to smudge the black skyline into a pale bruise. Lily stirred behind him, her small voice rising like a question into the silence. Are you mad at Mommy? Nathan closed his eyes. It wasn't just the lies. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the knowledge that he could have missed her entirely, that he already had. He walked over to her, knelt beside the couch, and pushed her hair gently from her forehead. No, he said softly, I'm not mad at your mommy. I just miss her when she cries. Lily whispered, half asleep, so do I. He whispered back. And in that moment, the ruthless CEO of Pierce Investments, whose heart had long ago been trimmed into something cold and bulletproof, felt something begin to break loose inside him. A reckoning, and maybe a war. The knock on the door echoed hollow in the narrow hallway of the walk-up. The place was a far cry from the penthouses Nathan was used to, walls faded with age, mailboxes dented, a staircase that creaked like a wounded animal every time he climbed a floor. He stood outside apartment 3B, adjusting the cuffs of his coat as if that could shield him from what was waiting on the other side. Rebecca Mitchell. It had been 5 years. 5 years without a trace. And now he stood with their daughter sleeping in his car 2 blocks away, guarded by one of his most trusted aides. While he prepared to confront the only woman who had ever fractured his armor, he knocked. Again. Footsteps. Slow. Hesitant. Then the door opened a crack, chained from inside. And there she was. Time hadn't erased her. It had only sharpened the lines. He remembered her face more drawn now, the edges of her cheekbones cutting shadows under tired eyes, but her gaze, still fire, still unblinking, still that impossible shade of storm cloud gray that once made him lose track of time. Nathan, she said quietly. He stood there, stunned into silence for a beat too long. Becca. A pause. You found us. He exhaled. She found me. Rebecca closed her eyes. Of course she did. She unlatched the chain and let him in. The apartment was small, dimly lit, and smelled faintly of lavender and dust. Children's drawings were taped unevenly across one wall. Crayon rainbows, stick figures, something that looked like a castle on fire. On the kitchenette counter sat a chipped mug of tea, untouched and cold. There was no sign of chaos, but also no sign of comfort. She's outside, he said softly, stepping inside. Sleeping. I didn't want to bring her up until you what? She said, turning to him with guarded eyes. Verified. The evidence. The shot landed squarely. He didn't flinch. I needed to be sure. She nodded once. Slowly. I understand. You should have told me. I did. He stared at her. No, you didn't. You vanished. Rebecca walked to the window, arms folded across her chest. I emailed. I called. I left messages with your assistant. I even tried showing up to your building once. Nathan's heart turned to stone. I never got any of it. I know, she whispered. That silence bloomed between them like a bruise. He took a slow step forward. Becca, what happened? Why didn't you come back? I was pregnant. She said, I resigned the day I found out. I didn't want to pressure you. I wasn't sure what I wanted either. You should have told me. I tried. Her voice broke now, barely holding together, but someone didn't want me to. Every time I reached out, HR told me you had moved on, that it was better if I didn't complicate things. Emails bounced. Phone calls rerouted. I assumed you didn't care. Nathan's fist curled at his sides. Roland, he hissed. He did this. Rebecca flinched at the name. I always suspected. He looked around the apartment, no toys on the floor, no warmth, no color, just survival. You shouldn't be living like this. Lily shouldn't have to. Her gaze snapped to his. We've managed. No, you've endured, he said, his voice sharper now. You've spent years living in shadows while the man responsible for stealing your voice made millions beside me. She didn't deny it. Her silence was confession. I want her with me, he said. You don't get to decide that now. Nathan's eyes flared. She's my daughter, and I'm her mother. They stood inches apart now to people connected by fire and ash and something more powerful than either of them wanted to admit. You don't trust me, he said quietly. I don't know you anymore, she replied. You don't even know yourself anymore? Then she handed him something from the drawer, a printed transcript of all her attempted contacts. Timestamped, archived, a paper trail of everything erased. He took it, eyes scanning, rage building with every line. This is obstruction, illegal, coordinated. They didn't just silence you, they protected me from my own daughter. She stepped back. Nathan, if you want to help, don't just be angry. Fix what's broken, not just in your company, in yourself. He nodded once, then his voice lowered. If I rebuild, it's for her. Rebecca's expression cracked. She loves ice cream, she said softly, even when we couldn't afford it. She'd draw pictures of cones and sprinkles and say we'd get one someday. He swallowed hard. She asked for it first thing. When she walked into my home, Rebecca's hand rose to her mouth. A sob escaped, soft and ragged. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Nathan said the one thing he hadn't said in 5 years. I'm sorry. And though it changed nothing in that instant, it was the first honest currency either of them had traded in years. But as Nathan walked back to his car and saw Lily sleeping in the back seat, he knew something darker was still waiting beneath the surface. If someone had orchestrated this, covered it up, silenced Rebecca, kept his daughter a secret, then this wasn't just personal. It was war. And Nathan Pierce had never lost a war. The boardroom at Pierce Investments sounded like a cathedral of power glass walls, long black table, chrome fixtures that reflected the light, and the silence back at you. Normally, it was a room Nathan Pierce ruled like a king. Not today. Not after what he knew, not after what they'd stolen. Nathan stood at the head of the table, cold and composed. But something wild simmered beneath his stillness. Rage, grief, purpose wrapped in the quiet suit of a billionaire who'd had everything until he realized what he'd lost. I want to speak to Roland, Nathan said. The room exchanged glances. No one spoke, I said. His voice rose, ever so slightly. Get Roland in here now. A junior executive scrambled toward the hallway. Minutes later, Roland Mays walked in, confident as ever, jaw sharp, silver hair perfectly styled. The man who once called Nathan his protege now looked at him with wary curiosity. You summoned me like I'm your assistant, Roland said, trying to smile. Everything all right? Nathan didn't answer. He slid a file across the table. Thick, heavy, sharp-edged with accusation. Roland smiled at the moment he opened it. Inside, printouts of Rebecca's emails, internal routing logs, metadata reports, and a forensic reconstruction of a digital cover-up. Every step of the obstruction, every lie, every time someone buried Rebecca's voice. You intercepted personal communications between me and an employee, Nathan said, calm as poison. You flagged them as threats to our merger optics and erased them. You made her disappear, and in doing that, you buried my daughter. Roland blinked once. This is a crime, Nathan snapped, voice cutting across the table. And you know it. The board fell silent. A few of the old partners leaned back in their chairs, the weight of the revelation sinking in. Why? Nathan asked. Why did you do it? Roland didn't flinch. You were weeks away from the Meridian deal. SEC was circling, We couldn't afford scandal. An unwed CEO about to be a father with an employee? It would have wrecked everything. So yes, I made a call. You made my call. You would have done the same. Nathan, that's how we win. Control the optics. Protect the company. I didn't build this company on lies. Nathan growled. Yes, you did, Roland said. Quietly. You just didn't notice. The room chilled. Nathan leaned forward, placing both palms flat on the table. You're finished here. Effective immediately. Roland's smirk returned, tired, sharp. That's cute, but I know where the skeletons are buried. You think taking me down won't shake this empire? Shake it then, Nathan said, eyes locked. But you won't survive the fall. Security stepped into the room. Roland didn't fight it. As he walked out, he glanced back. She's just a girl, Nathan. Don't burn it all for someone who'll forget your name in 10 years. Nathan didn't even blink. That girl saved me before I even knew I was lost. When the doors closed behind Roland, Nathan turned to the stunned board. From this moment forward, Pierce Investments doesn't just serve shareholders. It serves truth. Anyone who helped bury Becca Mitchell's voice will be audited. Anyone who knew about the obstruction and stayed silent will be terminated. One trembling hand raised. This could trigger lawsuits, exposure. We'll rebuild, Nathan said. We'll rebuild without rot in the foundation. He left the boardroom to the sound of silence, but it didn't end there. That night, as he returned home, something was off. His penthouse was exactly as he left it, but Lily's pink backpack had been moved, a window slightly ajar, and the AI had been rebooted, memory logs wiped. Security hadn't caught it. He found Lily and Rebecca in the guest suite, unharmed. But something in Rebecca's eyes told him she felt it too, an invisible hand brushing too close. Watching, waiting, someone was here, she whispered. Nathan didn't hesitate. He tripled the security team, moved them to a private estate upstate, blacklisted Roland's access, revoked every code he ever used, and sent an alert to legal to begin building a criminal case. But deep down, Nathan knew this wasn't just corporate treachery. There was something else, something deeper, buried in the dark corners of Pierce Investments. Something Roland had never said, something someone didn't want revealed. He thought the battle was over, but it had only just begun. 3 weeks later, Nathan Pierce stood in a concrete vault buried 3 floors beneath the East Side data center of Pierce Investments. The hum of servers vibrated through the walls like a restless heartbeat. This room was not on any blueprints. Very few even knew it existed. He had built it 10 years ago to safeguard proprietary tech from cyber threats. Foreign interference and, as he now realized, from his own people. A thick dossier rested in his hands, classified audit reports, whistleblower testimonies, and internal memos he'd never seen until now. Rebecca Mitchell's name appeared too many times, and always next to the same word, Westcor. He hadn't thought of Westcor in years. A mid-sized fintech company that had nearly bankrupted itself. Before Pierce Investments bought it in a fire sale, the acquisition had been a win on paper. But there were red flags in the original merger files, and now he was staring at evidence. That Westcor's most promising technology hadn't come from its labs at all. It had come from Becca. 5 years ago, before she left, before she was erased. He flipped through pages, Rebecca's internal memos, code drafts, encrypted designs. She'd been developing a proprietary forecasting algorithm that could predict market fluctuations. Using AI-driven modeling, a revolutionary system. Quiet, dangerous, and someone had stolen it. Signed it off under Westcor's name. Profited from it. Covered it up. That someone had silenced her, and then silenced Nathan. His breath fogged the glass case in front of him. Inside it, stored like a relic, was the original prototype server from Westcor's tech vault. The one Becca had built from scratch. He reached for his phone. Call her, he said. Rebecca's voice crackled on the line. Nathan, I need to see you now, and I need you to tell me everything you remember from your last 3 months at the company. There was a pause. I thought this was over, she said, her voice tight. It's not. Another pause. I'll come to the estate. Double quotes click. Back at the estate, Lily was playing in the garden, pecking flowers and calling them market blossoms like she was inventing a new economy out of petals and sticks. Nathan watched her for a long moment before Rebecca arrived. She looked stronger now, clearer, but something in her eyes told him she'd been waiting for this. In his study, he laid out the documents, This was your work, he said. Wasn't it? She stared at the pages. Her hand trembled once. Yes. Why didn't you come to me? I did. She said softly. I tried. When I realized Westcor had stolen my model and Roland was backing it, I panicked. Then I found out I was pregnant and everything got worse. HR shut me down. They told me I'd signed an NDA when I don't remember ever agreeing to. Then came the threats. I wasn't just protecting the baby, Nathan. I was protecting myself. His jaw clenched. You were blackmailed. She nodded. And the NDA, a forgery. I couldn't prove it then, but maybe. Now, Nathan rose from his chair. Someone in this company used your creation to secure a billion-dollar merger, and then buried you to keep the secret. That's not just betrayal. That's theft. That's corporate espionage. And now she asked, now I burn it all down. Just then, the house alarm buzzed once an encrypted internal alert from the estate's new AI perimeter. Nathan turned sharply to the console. A coded breach had been detected. The signature was familiar to familiar. Roland. His security clearance had been revoked, all of it, and yet the alert showed an attempted override. Using his original executive-level code, someone had cloned it. Someone on the inside was helping him. Nathan moved fast. He locked the estate down, sent Lily into the panic room, and dispatched his private security to sweep the grounds. He turned to Rebecca. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was calm. He's not done, is he? No, Nathan said. He's desperate, because now Roland and whoever was backing him knew Nathan was unraveling the lie. And the thing about cornered men with everything to lose, they don't play by rules anymore. As the estate locked down and the security system scanned the shadows, Nathan looked at the woman he once loved, and the child who bore his eyes and knew he had only two choices left: expose the truth or lose everything. The estate was deathly quiet to quiet. The perimeter sensors had gone dark 5 minutes ago. Nathan stood in the control room beneath the east wing, eyes scanning the monitors as static flickered across the screens. His most advanced security system scrambled. His private network jammed. His worst suspicion confirmed. Someone had breached the estate, but they hadn't come for money. They had come for silence. I need Lily and Becca in the bunker, he said into the mic. Now, do not wait. He didn't raise his voice, didn't panic. Nathan Pierce had once negotiated a $1 trillion international merger in the middle of a scandal, but this was something else. This was blood. This was personal. Security swept the estate floor by floor. Motion detectors blinked red in the West Hall, and then the lights went out. Only emergency generators kicked on, painting everything in low amber glow. That's when he heard the door open, not loudly, just enough he turned, and there stood Roland Mays, or rather the ghost of him. The perfect silver hair was gone. His suit was disheveled, sleeves rolled to the elbows, eyes wild. This wasn't the boardroom tactician anymore. This was a man who had lost everything and had decided to take something back. You never were sentimental, Nathan, he said, stepping in with a casual gait that made Nathan's skin crawl. But now you've got a daughter, and suddenly you want to burn the kingdom down for bedtime stories? You shouldn't be here, Nathan said, voice calm, and yet, here I am. Nathan moved between Roland and the hallway that led toward the panic room. I've already backed up the evidence, he said. If you're here to stop me, you're too late. Roland smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You really think this is about a few stolen files? You never understood the game. I understand it now, Nathan said. You buried the mother of my child. You stole her life's work. You used me. You let me, Roland said sharply. You think your hands are clean? You were too busy playing God with your spreadsheets to notice people like Rebecca being erased. You created the culture. I just fed it. That was the moment. The moment Nathan realized the truth wasn't just about the past. It was about who he'd allowed himself to become. But he wasn't that man anymore. Not with Lily asleep in the bunker below, curled against Becca's side. Not with blood on the floor and legacy in the balance. Behind Roland, security moved in. You're done, Nathan said. Walk out or be dragged. Roland looked around, knew it was over. But then, he said something that stopped Nathan cold. There's another file. Nathan froze. What file? Roland's smile widened. The real reason Becca left. The real reason you didn't hear her. Nathan stepped forward, fist clenched. What are you talking about? She was pregnant, with twins. Silence. Nathan's breath caught. No, he said. That's not. One didn't make it. She begged to talk to you. HR intercepted the message and flagged it as unstable. We made a call, but the field's still there. A copy. Her full resignation report. Her medical scans. The child's name was Grace. Nathan's heart stopped. Lily's imaginary sister. The one she said she dreamed about. It hadn't been imaginary at all. It was memory. Echo. I didn't want this. Roland muttered. But you left me no choice. Security closed in. Roland didn't resist. But as they let him out, he glanced back. She talks to her in her sleep, doesn't she? He whispered. Nathan didn't answer. Couldn't. He stood there long after. The room had emptied. Later that night, when Lily awoke from her dreams and came padding barefoot into his room, Nathan picked her up without a word and held her close. She whispered in his ear. Gracie said you're not mad anymore. He didn't cry, but something in him finally broke free. He walked into the garden just before dawn, barefoot. In silence, Rebecca found him sitting on the cold stone bench where Lily had once drawn market blossoms in sidewalk chalk. They stole 5 years, she said quietly. Nathan nodded. But they won't steal a single day more. What now? She asked. He looked at her. The woman who had survived alone, lied to, erased and still held her head high. Now we tell the world. She sat beside him, and then he wrapped his arm around her, and then we start over, not just with justice, with love. Final scene. Months later, a press conference lit up the news feeds. Nathan Pierce stepped to the podium, flanked by attorneys, whistleblowers, and Rebecca at his side. He didn't read a statement. He told the truth about the betrayal, the theft, the daughter he never knew. The room was silent as his final words landed. Power built on silence is a house of cards. It collapses eventually. I'd rather build something real, and I'd rather my daughter grow up in a world where the truth has a voice, even if it shakes everything I've ever built. And somewhere behind the camera lights, Lily watched from her seat eating ice cream, smiling, because her daddy had finally come home.